Hello, my name is Clark Nauert, and I'd like to talk to you today about playing solos on the guitar over basic blues changes. And basic blues changes just consist of 3 chords, and they're all dominant 7 type of chords. Have this kind of sound. So I'm in the key of A today. There's an A, so I'm playing an A7 chord. That's the 1 chord. Call it the 1 chord. And there's the D7, that's the 4 chord. And the E7, there's the E7, that's the 5 chord. Well, today we'll just cover the 1 and the 4. And what we're going to try to start with is finding a way to play over these chords in the simplest fashion possible. So we don't have to compute a lot of different scales and a lot of different patterns. So we can just concentrate on making music and using good phrasing, good articulation, good rhythms to get a pleasing sound out. And so we're going to start by using just one scale to play over these chords, and that is the minor pentatonic scale. So here I'm in A, starting on an A on the 5th fret on the 6th string, and here's the scale, just 1 octave. Now here it is going at 2 octaves. And so even though that scale doesn't perfectly fit either one of those chords, taken together with the chords played back and forth and the scale going over both chords, there's a certain amount of tension that is set up by the scale that really fits with the blues style. There should be a certain amount of tension and dissonance with the notes that are played over a blues progression, and this scale seems to fit right into that framework. So we're going to play the scale over the chords now. 2, 3, 4. Changed, I just used one scale. It really worked out pretty well. Now you'll notice that I played it very straight, in a rather boring fashion. And that's to show you the material there, to show you the pattern. But that also demonstrates that a scale by itself does not make a good solo. It's merely a framework. It's just a framework or a blueprint for a material that you can use to make music. And you've got to be creative with it and use a variety of techniques to make that work. So I'm going to use a variety of guitar techniques that we won't go into a lot of detail about right now. One is using hammer-ons and pull-offs. That's using my left hand to strike the 2nd note on every string. A pull-off uses the left-hand fingers to strike the note on every string by pulling off the string. There's also slides by sliding the finger along the string. And these all make it sound more interesting. And there's also the bending of strings. So pushing the string out of tune until it reaches another note also adds interest. So we're going to use that plus varying the rhythms to see how this scale can work with all the things put together to make a good solo. 1, 2, 3, 4. So all those notes work pretty well over both of those chords. Now we can add another note to this scale, and that's the flat 5. And there it is. There's that extra note. With that note added in, this is now called the blues scale, or a minor blues scale, because of the tension created by that note. There's a crying or blues sound to it. So let's add that note in and play the progression. 1, 2, 3. same techniques, the hammers and the pulls, the slides, slide the finger up and down, and the string bends to make the solo interesting. But the main thing we're going to cover as far as what might be new to you is the note choices. So there's an extra note to make that blues scale. Alright, one more thing. If we take that blues scale and we add one more note to it, which would be the major third in the key of A, and that's a C sharp. It's right here. That C sharp is in the A7 chord. Then we get a scale that really fits that first chord even better as far as finding all the chord tones and getting them into the scale. So we'll use that for the A7 and then go back to the normal blues scale for the D7. Let's see how it works. 2, 3, 4. Break that down a little bit. So here's the scale with the major third. Well, that's a lot of notes, and there's not time with that short measure, that's those 4 beats of A7, 2, 3, 4 to get all those notes in. So let's simplify it. Let's take just a couple of notes. In fact, the newest note is the C sharp. Let's just play that note, and then when we go to the minor pentatonic for the D7, we'll take the note closest to it. That's a C natural. C sharp to C natural. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're getting notes that actually line up with each chord and make this a more directed, focused solo. But just one note for each chord is going to be boring. So let's add another note. So now we'll play 2 notes. I'm going to play the E up here. It will work for both chords. It's in both scales, but I'll change the C sharp to the C. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Alright, so 2 notes, getting better, but we'll want more. So this time, I'll start with this idea, and then as I progress, I'll start adding more notes to the phrase. Alright, 1, 2, 3, 4. Off of that first idea. You can only play that for so long before it'll become too repetitive. So I'm going to focus on C sharp on the 1 chord and a C natural on the 4 chord. And in that way, I will move all of the other scale notes around to revolve around those 2 notes that are going to change. To give myself some more variety. Go 1, 2, 3, 4.